Hello, my name is Dr. Lee Lindquist, and I am Chief of Geriatrics at Northwestern University. And today we're going to be talking about negotiating with seniors. Let's go. So these are two of my favorite people in the whole wide world. These are my grandparents, who I actually had to find help for and then ultimately move in with me. So I see so many seniors in my clinics and in my offices where their families are worried about them, but they think they're doing fine. And then the seniors need help or they're struggling at home, and we want to help them so that they can age in place and do it safely. But this sometimes takes a lot of negotiating. And so let's talk. The goals of today's talk are to learn the basics of negotiating with seniors, improve your conflict resolution skills, and recognize when it will not be useful to negotiate. So why start? So the goal of today ultimately is to win more, win easier, and feel better. Yay! So let's talk. Negotiators are interdependent. What one wants affects what the other can have and vice versa. So we oftentimes act as advocacy negotiators, meaning that we advocate for a senior to get a checkup. We might try to convince a senior to accept help, but this is how we're kind of all interlinked. So the steps to effective negotiations are as follows. Step 1, I love starting off with identifying the players. And the first and foremost person in my mind is the senior. Let's look at the senior. What is the cognition level of the senior? Does that senior have severe Alzheimer's? What is the thinking process? Are they going to actually be able to understand what you're talking about and have a good negotiation where they make rational thought? And that's why I always start off with testing cognition. It can be done even at home using the MoCA, which is the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, and it's available free of charge at mocatest.org. Usually if people are 22 or higher, then that means that they're able to have a good negotiation, they're able to talk and make rational discussions. Anything lower than that, I would be really concerned about whether or not it's worthwhile to negotiate, primarily because they're going to forget a lot of what you told them, and they may not be logical in their decision making. Other than that, the other two things are important in negotiating is vision testing and hearing. If they can't see you and they can't hear you, then it's going to make a negotiation even more difficult. So the other thing too is who else is playing a role? Are there other family members who might be working against you? They say, oh, there's no need, but so-and-so is doing great. They don't need help in the home. Or they can keep driving. There's not a problem. I don't think there's an issue. If it's a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, or even a sibling, these are people that you need to all get on the same couch and get them all in the same room and agree with everybody. This is what we're going to do for mom. This is what we're going to do for dad. Then also it might be useful to talk to the physician. If the physician is working with you, then sometimes it's easier if they're aware of what's going on and there's a medical opinion included. Very useful. Also, look around, see what friends are important to the patient or the senior. Are the friends saying, no, you don't want to get help in the home. This is going to be the worst thing ever. Or did friends accept help and then actually ended up in a nursing home where there's some bad experiences? These are things that you need to think about when you're going to be doing a negotiation. The second step is issue identification. What issues are important to the senior and for you? I always say make a list, check it twice, just like your Santa Claus. Say, what are we missing? Is it helping in the home? Are we having to worry about certain things? Or are there certain things that you don't like? And with seniors, we've done a lot of research on it. And what we hear from seniors oftentimes is that they fear losing independence. They feel, oh my heavens, if I am not able to do this, then it's going to make my independence go down and I'll become more dependent. And that's one step into the nursing home. The other thing too is that sometimes seniors are worried, what if we hire somebody to help me and I don't trust them, or they're not good, or they do something wrong? I'm worried about that. And then also seniors sometimes worry about being a burden. If I ask people to do this or if I depend on somebody to do this, then am I going to be a burden on them and they'll start hating me for it? So that's why I like to have all the issues lined up and all the concerns lined up. And that's why we talk about fixed pie versus variable pie in negotiations. So if you have a single issue, it's a win-lose. So therefore, for instance, if a Cubs hat costs $20 and you want to only pay $10, the vendor will come back and forth with you and you'll agree on $15. So you split the pie in half. One issue, one decision split in half. It's win-lose. Always somebody says, oh, he got a better deal. I could have argued more and gone back and forth. So that's a win-lose argument, okay? Not very effective when it comes to discussing things with seniors. I prefer a win-win, which is where you negotiate multiple issues. You expand the pie. And so what is happening is that you say, okay, you have a problem with this. You're worried about this. Let's talk about this. These are some of the issues that are coming up. So it's not just you need to stop driving. It's, okay, there's problems with driving. We have to get somebody in the house. Maybe you need to work on this a little bit more. Maybe we need to do more exercise. So load up the issues so that you expand the pie, and then you can actually divide it up more so people feel like they win more. So this is a win-win. This is what you're aiming for. Then the next thing that's important is thinking about your personal beliefs. What is best for the seniors? What do I think? Should I think should the seniors stop driving? Should the senior still be living alone in a large house? What about socialization? It's best in your mind to keep your personal beliefs aware, and so that you know what you're thinking before you come in, just so that you're aware of your own biases. And this is where your emotions come in. Sometimes when you're negotiating with a senior or somebody who's very difficult, or they're giving you a lot of stubbornness, it just drives you, so negative. So there's a lot of irrational behavior that happens when you throw out negative emotions. You can conflict escalation. Things can really reach top level of spasm, scariness right away. And then the negotiation can break down. You're not my daughter. You're not my son. I hate you. And people can get completely uncooperative. So watch your emotions. On a positive note, if you're positive, it really facilitates reaching an agreement and maximizing joint gains. This is how you can be cooperative. Hey, I'm here for you. Let's work on this together. We can do it. We can be positive. Yay! Now, the next step is thinking about what your stakes. What's going to happen if you lose? What are the ramifications? And that's where we come to BATNA, which is a business term for the best alternative to negotiated agreement. This is your source of power. This is your bottom line. For instance, we think about this in like selling a house. I'd sell a house that I'm living in for $350,000, but I'm asking $399,000. So if somebody comes in with $399,000, yay, that'll make my day. But if they find out that I'm willing to sell the house for $350,000, then they just come in and they say, oh, I'll give you $351,000, and they've got a great deal. So in this idea, it's what are you going to do if you don't reach an agreement? What's going to happen if you and your senior are going to kind of come to, an impasse? What's going to happen? When are you going to walk away? And that's when you should never, ever give away your bottom line. Because if you start figuring out if you figure out what their bottom line is, that's more power to you. But if they figure out what your bottom line is, then it's going to be a trickier situation altogether. So like I said, try to discover your opponent's BATNA. BATNA is power. So when will you need help? That's a common question that I ask my seniors. Do you miss doing events in the evening? So if you know their BATNA, you can realistically offer it. So if I ask a senior, hey, when do you think you're going to need help in the home? And they say, well, when I start getting more and more forgetful. Guess what? You're getting more and more forgetful. This is why we need to get you help. And so that's where the BATNA comes in as power. And so the key is information. Before you ever start a negotiation, come up with all the information you can. Prepare. I can't tell you this enough. Know who the decision makers are. Learn what is important to the patient. What do you think is right? And what are the bottom lines? And this will help your negotiation 100-fold. Thank you.